welcome. This is going to be the Mr. Kitty codes for graphics and colors. We're going to talk about how you can take all the graphics that we just talked about and how you can actually use colors to draw them in all kinds of colors. So let's go ahead and get started. So to start off, we want to look at what are the three basic colors that we use when actually deciding how to draw the different shapes. So if you've ever seen like an old billboard, there actually is three little pixels that are made up of it, or three LEDs that are made up of each giant pixel. If you get up close, you can see the color of each one. Or if you've seen a really old TV, you might have seen it too. So if you can guess, go ahead and guess what the three different colors are. And if not, I'm going to reveal that it basically is RGB. So red, green, and blue. And part of this is you pick how much red, how much green, and how much blue, and it's kind of mixing the light together, and that will actually give you the colors. So why don't we start off by trying with the first one, which is background. And so background will actually give us the background of the page. So this will clear the entire page, and it will actually erase everything that's on there. So we can go ahead and do it. So background, and why don't we try just doing just all of the red. So each of these numbers goes between 0 and 255. So if I want less red, I can put in 100, it'll get a darker shade of red. And if I go really close to 0, it might have a slight tinge, but it's hard to tell from black. And if you guessed it, black is basically none of the colors. So you have 0, 0, 0. So that means you have 0 red, 0 green, and 0 blue. So to get white, you're actually going to do all of the colors. So 255, 255, and 255. And then it gives you a white. It's hard to tell because the page itself is almost white. And then if you wanted to do just blue, or as I get to the blue, you can see another color. And then we have a solid blue. So that kind of gives you a sense of the different backgrounds you can actually do. So why don't we look at the next one, which is fill. So I'm going to go ahead and just start off. One of the shorthands, you can actually just use a single number and it'll give you a gray version. So 0 will give you black, 255 will give you white, and 100 will give you a gray. So we're going to do just a 200 so we can have some on the screen. And now we can actually draw a rectangle. So remember a rectangle, this is the X, the Y, and then the width, and then the height. Why don't we make this just a little bit bigger? Let's make it 150 by 150. And you can see it's drawing on the screen by the default color. So next we're going to use fill, and fill tells it how it should actually fill in the rectangle. So again, the same thing. If we do fill with 255, 0, and 0, the 255 means you want all of the red and then none of the green and none of the blue. So you can see that it gives us a red shape. One of the other things you'll notice is that around the outside, there's a stroke. There's a small border around the outside. So we can actually set that color. So if we want, we can set the stroke to be, why don't we make the stroke a solid blue? And you can kind of see it along the outside. Actually, let's make it white, see if that shows up better. You can also kind of see it, but since it's so small in there, one thing you can actually do is to change the stroke weight. So with stroke weight, this is how much of the stroke you actually want to do. So you could put in, I think the default is probably around 1. So if you wanted to put a larger one, you could do 10, which gives us a pretty big one. You could obviously do something really crazy, like 50, and gives us a huge one. But most of the time you might use something like 10 or 5 to get a nice solid border around it. Now, another thing you might want is you might just want the border and nothing in the middle. So instead of doing fill, you can actually just change it to no fill. And that says don't fill anything at all. And then you'll just see whatever the background is. So if we change the background, you'll notice that the middle of the square actually changes to match whatever the background is. We still have our white right there. Now, one thing that matters is the order that you actually do these in. So let's go back to just using a fill, where we actually have a red. Now, let's say we wanted to have another fill. We wanted to have a blue ellipse. So we can do a blue ellipse. Let's say we'll put it at 200 and 20 and make it 100 by 100. And actually, let's put it over even more. So you can see that the rectangle is blue, and this is because the square is actually red. And you can see because we actually are saying fill right before we draw the rectangle. So this sets the color, and the color is going to be set until you change it. So if we actually remove this by commenting it out, you'll notice that it stays red too. So if we put it back in, it's going to basically change the color to red, and then any drawing that you have in here is going to be red. Then we change it to blue, and then any drawing that you do is going to be blue. So the order really matters. One thing you might find sometime is like, why is the color not right? And sometimes you might realize that you put it in the wrong order. And remember that this is looping over and over again. So whatever you use at the last is going to be done again at the first. So if something isn't quite right, check your order. The other one is, remember, background actually erases everything. So if we did all our nice drawing and then at the very end we did a background, guess what we see? Nothing, because the background erased everything. So you want to make sure your background actually goes before anything that you want to see. Now let's look at a color picker. So for the color picker, you can use any color picker that you want. There are some other ones that you might be able to use. The one that I've used is just on HTML color codes. If you just search for color picker, you'll be able to find lots of different ones. And in this one, you'll be able to select the slider on here of which basic color do you want. So if you wanted like something a red, and then you use the circle to kind of pick which section of the grid you want. So purple is my favorite color. So when we get a purple, and then you can just copy, this is the hex value. And so if you copy the hex value, and then here in the fill, you actually change it to have a quote around it, and then you just paste it in. And so now you can actually see that it's turning to purple. And it even shows you the color here very nicely. And once you have one, you can actually then go pick whatever color you want to and be able to change it right from here. So that's how you can actually get a color picker. So you can use the built-in one if you actually just put in anything here. Or you can use another one to actually be able to do it. And it has the same method of being able to do the color picker of sliding, and then it will automatically put in the color for you. All right, so that has been our graphics and colors. Thank you so much.